Good morning. So today I want to talk about waking up, in particular, waking up in terms of race. And my question to you is, are you awake yet? And when are we going to wake up? So this week, in my role as president of the Soto Zen Buddhist Association, I had to craft yet another statement addressing something terrible that's happened. And as I worked on that, with others, I felt a sense of frustration of, I have to do yet another vapid, meaningless statement about something so awful and so heart-rending that it just rips my heart out. Just words on a piece of paper, important and yet so meaningless. So this is what I really wanted to say. This is what I want to say now to you. As Black people die, we, those of us who are white, we make platitudes from our safe refuges. Even as Soto Zen priests and practitioners, we are called to see the cries of the world and to respond, to meet suffering in the world all around us and in ourselves. We are not doing enough in terms of race. We're falling down. We are failing as white people. We are failing. Black people are dying in disproportionate numbers during this pandemic due to racism. The causes and conditions that lead to an increased chance of getting the coronavirus and dying from it are from racism. Heart disease, obesity, diabetes, all from racism. Weathering is a term that was coined by Arlene Geronimus, who's a public health researcher and a professor at the University of Michigan's Population Studies Center. She coined the term weathering because she wanted to evoke the sense of erosion that happens from the constant stress that people of color, particularly Black people, live in, and the effect that it has on their bodies. This constant, everyday fear, everyday stress, everyday financial difficulty that just eats at you, weathering. It literally weathers people's bodies. And this happens because of actions that we, as white people, take or don't take. We are killing people. People die as we retreat to our safe temples, to our safe homes, to our safe neighborhoods, and we sit on our soft cushions, high above the utter madness that is the suffering of racism and the lie that race exists. In Arlene Geronimus's research, she talked to a woman named Emerald Snipes Garner who likened weathering to the game called Jenga. And that's the game with the different blocks, those stack of blocks, and you pull out one piece at a time. And she said life is like playing this game of Jenga. They pull out one block, and then another block, and then another block. You get stopped by the police for no reason. Somebody makes a microaggression at work. They just say something that's just not quite right. because of your race. Maybe your mom gets sick from heart disease and you can't get her the proper treatment. Maybe you're in childbirth and you're saying that you have pain, and the nurse is like, it's okay, honey, just wait it out, you'll be okay. They're not believing you because of your race. Weathering. Each one pulls one block at. And because of your sense of collective responsibility and your determination and your hope and your wish for a better world, you stick it out, even without the stability of all the blocks being in place. You stick it out, and you stick it out for your own sake or your family's sake or your community's sake, until there's a point where you can no longer have enough pieces to hold up the structure and it all falls apart. Weathering. Caused by racism, the effect is killing people. Many or most of us come to the Dharma through suffering. I mean, some people come because it seems like a nice thing to do. And some people come because they're just naturally drawn. And a lot of people come because of our own suffering. We want to be free from suffering. But the thing is, as soon as we start practicing and start to feel a sense of ease, we want to stop there and create a wall around that ease, which feels so precious after so long suffering so much. Let's just hold it. Let's just hold this ease. So we create this wall, and this wall makes a safe bubble for us from our own suffering. But the thing is, this wall is a construct of our ego, of our own self-interest. And the more comfortable we are in that bubble, the stronger that wall becomes, until that wall is solid, tractable. And it not only keeps our practice contained and what we think of as safe, but the very conditions for awakening that brought us to practice in the first place are no longer there. Walls not only prevent us from realizing our full potential, they also keep others out. And I want to give you an example of something that I noticed myself. When I first moved to New York, I needed to take the subway to get to work. And the subway in the morning during rush hour is an experience that I was not familiar with. It takes a little bit of push to get onto a car. And if you're too polite, then the car goes past and you can't fit in there and you're late for work. So developing the ability to assert yourself was a real challenge for me. And yet I did it. Because I noticed, like, the subway would come, oh my goodness, it's so full in there. And I was like, I can do this. I've been in Tokyo. They shove you in. And what I noticed was the hesitation that I felt was not shared by all. Because often I would see particularly a man, and often a white man, come up straight in front of me right as the doors open, and boom, get on the subway, and then there I'm left on the platform. So that did not make me happy. So I developed the ability to fight for myself. I am not letting that guy in front of me. Men are always pushing women aside, and I'm going to get on that car. And I was able to do it. I can push in, hopefully without too many curse words, looking like a monk. That would not be an appropriate thing to do. And I would push in and get on. And yes, I did it. I succeeded, not only on behalf of myself, but on behalf of women everywhere. Somebody did this. And so that was my way of getting onto the car. So one day as I was waiting, it wasn't very crowded this day. And I learned where to position myself just so that I could be next to the doors when they opened. And I'm standing there waiting, and a woman comes up and stands next to me. And she's another white woman. And I look at her and I see a kind of determination in her jaw, like, and she's focused on those doors. And her elbows are out just a little bit. And I see myself in her. I see this, I'm going to get on that car. Look, and I saw a mirror of myself. And what I saw was something that in the mirror in front of me, I didn't like so much. And at that point, I looked around me. I looked all around. And yeah, I saw at the next doors, where the next doors would open, I saw a man standing there first. And then I turned around and I looked behind me. And all next to the law were all brown people. There I was, so invested in my own, asserting my own ease, my own needs, that I hadn't even noticed all the people I was stepping on to get to where I needed to be. So my perception increased, by seeing myself in this mirror. And I felt terrible, really. I really did. And I started to let go of my need to be assertive. And I can't say that I just said, oh no, you go first. But what I found that I would do is, as a white woman, I could still fight to get to the front, and I could open up, not usually people go in, through one side. So I would open up the back door, and I would let, especially women of color, go in first ahead of me and sort of like protect them. So this is a way that we can create our bubbles, and ways that we can learn from that and work with it. So our practice, in a practice sense, is not meant to be comfortable. And as we practice, we have to keep pushing our edges. We have to keep learning and growing, because this is what it's all about. The fundamental truth of Buddhism is that in the entire world, there is nothing to hang on to. But our bubbles are a way of hanging on. Not only keeping people out, but preventing our own practice from growing and deepening. Our bubbles prevent us from living our Bodhisattva vow, which is until all beings simultaneously wake up, no one wakes up. We just chanted our Bodhisattva vows. Beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to become it. Huge, right? What is a bodhisattva? A bodhisattva is another way of saying someone who's grown up, an adult. A bodhisattva, the actual Chinese characters are a grown-up, a big person. And in this sense, I don't mean a physical grown-up, but a spiritual grown-up. So a bodhisattva is a spiritual grown-up. Someone who sees the world through spiritually adult eyes and whose actions reflect those of an adult. A bodhisattva vows, and those vows are what make a bodhisattva. And the central vow is to wake up for the sake of all sentient beings, every single being in the universe, and not to pass into nirvana or final enlightenment, while any single beings remain in suffering in the round of birth and death. not to take final enlightenment as long as even one sentient being remains in the realm of birth and death. And this is because we literally are not separable. My enlightenment depends on yours. We are not two separate beings, but completely interconnected. I bow to my Buddha nature in you as you bow to your Buddha nature in me. So for me to wake up separate from you is literally impossible. And in terms of working with racism, if we think that we can wake up as Buddhist practitioners, for those of us who are white, and leave people out of the picture, we are not keeping our vows. Last week, I talked to you about repentance, sangye, and two kinds of repentance, especially as addressed by Shohaku Okumura in his book, Living by Vow. So there's the repentance of the relative, and there's the repentance of the absolute. In the world of the relative, we make a mistake, we apologize for it, we atone, and we return. And we outlined last week how we might apologize when we've done things that cause harm. And this week, I want to talk about the repentance in the realm of the absolute, which is the formless realm. This is the realm of our Zazen practice and what we're doing when we're sitting on the cushion. When we awaken to the total interpenetrating reality of all beings, beyond the separation of me and you, of self and others. This is our Zazen practice. The thing is, we live in the reality of our life, whether or not we receive the precepts and whether or not we keep the precepts. So this is the realm of the absolute. And to be true bodhisattvas, to truly live our life for the benefit of all beings, we have to live our life free from the hindrance, not only of the things we do that cause harm, but also of the view that we are good and the things we're attached to in that way. So in the Samattabhadra Sutra, there's the verse that addresses the formless repentance, or the repentance of the true reality. The ocean of all karmic hindrances arises solely from delusive thoughts. If you wish to make repentance, sit upright, in upright posture, and be mindful of the true reality. All misdemeanors like frost and dew are melted away in the sun of wisdom. The ocean of all karmic hindrances arises solely from delusive thoughts. If you wish to make repentance, sit upright and be mindful of the true reality. All misdemeanors are like frost and dew, melted away in the sun of wisdom. Our Zazen itself is repentance. The ocean of all karmic hindrances, it's all karma. Actions based on our self-centered view, on our ego. Even good actions are within this realm. Even the actions that we do as the good white person are in this realm that we also have to let go of. Because when we have ourself as the center, our actions are still not fulfilling our bodhisattva vow. They still keep us in the center of the room, just like when we create our bubble, where we have at our center our own need for ease and our own comfort and our own joy, and are leaving out the despair of others. If you wish to make repentance, sit upright and be mindful of the true reality, freed from the hindrance of even our good deeds. The true reality is when we're not thinking about it. When we sit, a thought arises, we let go of our thoughts, and we return. We're not escaping. We're not hiding in our bubbles. We're neither affirming nor negating, but we're accepting of what is in this moment. Sitting, thoughts arise, let go of the thought, return. All misdemeanors, like frost and dew, are melted away in the sun of wisdom. I love this part of the verse, the sun of wisdom. We need the sun of wisdom, of our true practice, to melt away the harm that we cause and the karma of causing harm. So if we did something good yesterday, forget about it, drop it, let it go. If we did something bad yesterday, forget about it, let it go, drop it. Come back to moment by moment by moment, held by our vow to live for the benefit of every single sentient being, starting over again and again and again, fresh in each moment. This is true repentance. It's not about getting rid of our deluded thoughts or even thinking deluded or enlightened, or having this one day where we're going to be woke and everything's going to be just fine. It's about coming back, making our mistakes, doing it again, making our mistakes, trying again, held by our vow. Our practice and our enlightenment are one. This is what Dogen Zenji says over and over. Practice and enlightenment are one. And our practice means giving up trying to be perfect, or trying to never have mistakes, or being that good white person who does everything right, reads all the right books and memorizes them, and every action that we do and every day on every train ride is the shining example of the perfect white person, because that shining example is a hindrance to our practice, because it's a concept that we create that does not exist. If we ignore our delusions, they can cause great harm. So we have to be present with them. We have to hold them with us gently, gently, softly, even as we're trying to do good, holding our delusions, even as we're trying to do better, even as we're living for the benefit of every single sentient being. We have to do better, white people. George Floyd died violently under the knee of a white man. We know that this happened because we watched it happen on a video. How many people have died unseen in prisons from illness, of heartbreak? Our prisons are full of Black and brown bodies, put there in unfathomable numbers by our white system, which is invested in seeing brown bodies locked up. How many people in prisons are dying unseen of the virus of racism, of the virus of COVID-19, of the virus of despair? Writing down words on paper will not prevent this. Reading books will not prevent this. We have to connect, to feel, to listen. We have to dig deeply and unearth our own very deeply rooted white superiority, the feeling that we are right. We have to see it, we have to name it, and we have to give it up. Does this make you uncomfortable? If you think this does not serve your interests, then think about what you're saying. Are you saying that you're willing to allow human beings to suffer and die so that you can sit zazen on your soft cushion in order to escape from your problems and then have lunch outside or go home to your nice, safe house, undisturbed by the rage and the terror and the trauma and the grief going on around you? What kind of enlightenment is that? It's a sham. Waking up is a lifetime endeavor. It's a lifetime of failure, of repair, of returning. Woke is an engagement, not an end. It's time for us to step down off of our white platforms, our white superiority, and listen and learn and hear deeply and feel in our bodies and connect. Our white expertise is in the way. It not only blocks our path, our own path, it causes harm. So my question to you today is, what are you willing to give up so that all beings can survive and even shine? How are you going to shine the spotlight, which is now focused on you, onto someone else for a change? What is our action plan? And does your plan make you uncomfortable? Does it make your white family uncomfortable or your community uncomfortable? If it does not, then make a better plan. Does your plan give hope and satisfaction to your friends in the Black community? If it does not, then make a better plan. Because white people, it's time for us to give up our comfort and join our Black family in mutual anguish. Are we really going to wake up? Or are we only going to play a game of waking up? Thank you.